This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, in the last session, we were talking about basic business processes, basic account and accounting types in accounting, and we also understood same account types are there in SAP also, but with a slightly different names, different terminologies. And in yesterday's session, we understood about vendors. We understood what is vendor, how vendor accounts are used. In short, we concluded that whatever you are doing with vendor is represented as accounts payable. This is the same accounts payable process that you will have in SAP FICO. Now let us try to understand related to customer. Anything, anything that you're talking about customer, you are going to talk about accounts receivable process in SAP or in generic accounting also. Meaning, if you take this one, AR, let me pull this point here. In AR, you are going to talk about customers here. When you're talking about customer, we need to understand what happens to a customer or what is happening with our business with the customer. In general, whenever you talk about any customer, you're talking about doing a sale activity to a customer. Meaning, customer will come to your office or customer will come to your store, your location, whatsoever, and they will make some purchases from you. Meaning, according to you, it is a sale. According to customer, it is a purchase. Now, whenever you're talking about customer, whenever you're talking about vendor, you need to understand one logic first. According to your understanding, if you are going ahead with vendor first, it is fine. If you are going ahead with customer, it is fine. But you have to see vendor and customer collectively. Only when you see vendor and customer collectively, you will be able to understand difference between accounts payable and accounts receivable, how these are connected to each other. Otherwise, what will happen? You will end up looking at accounts payable separately. You will end up looking at accounts receivable separately. With this, you will never be able to understand what is the exact business process related to customer, related to vendor, and how these are connected to each other. Because accounts payable and accounts receivable are quite opposite to each other. If you know accounts payable, automatically you will come to know what is accounts receivable. On the other way around, if you know accounts receivable, automatically you will come to know what is accounts payable. In that way, you need to understand. In the last session, we were talking about accounts payable, wherein you are talking about purchases. Now, opposite side of a purchases is your sales. You are going to put sales here. Whenever you talk about any sales, most of the companies in majority of the businesses, sales are based on orders only. The way you are going to purchase through order, we understood that no company will go to any other shop, they will purchase it directly. Instead, what is going to happen in most of the scenarios, you are going to place an order to your supplier. When you place an order to your supplier is supplying the goods and services to you at your location. Now, if you are purchasing by way of or with the help of an order, the other person is also selling with the help of an order. Meaning, if you create a purchase order here, if you are purchasing with the help of a purchase order here, the same purchase is fulfilled by the other person on the other company. Meaning, tomorrow, if you are in the other side and you are receiving an order from your customer, you are going to create an order in the system, which is nothing but a sales order here. In short, majority of the sales in any organization are happening with the help of a sales order only. It's not that somebody will come to your store and they will walk in, purchase whatever they want, they will go. It's very rare. Most of your sales are based on sales order procedure only. In short, whenever you're talking about customer, whenever you're talking about accounts receivable, make sure you're talking about a sales. Sales are based on orders again. We're talking about order and it is related to sales. This is represented as a sales order. And these sales orders are part of your integration called FIST integration. In short, if you're talking about accounts receivable, you cannot say that I do not know FIST integration. Without understanding what is FIST integration, you cannot say you know AR because AR is completely incomplete without FIST integration. So you have to understand the procedure of FIST integration, how this is connected to FI, how accounting is happening, how you are able to figure out what happened with the sale, and whether we are getting profits and losses from sale. If you made any particular sale to a customer, how do you recognize what is the profit from this particular sale? If you are able to understand, okay, this is my sale, from this sale this is what profit I have realized, then your AR understanding or your accounts receivable understanding is correct. If not, what will happen majoritarily, what we are going to do is, you will understand accounts receivable as the basic standard configuration in SAP, which is the basic fundamental of AR, meaning that is like your ABCD of accounts receivable, wherein we are going to talk about basic configuration like create customer account group, create customer number range, create customer master, create customer invoice, customer credit memo, customer payment, customer down payment or advance payment. We say that accounts receivable is completed, but that is where your accounts receivable is starting. As we discussed in the last session, starting point is where we are going to put it as ending point in general. Now, when you're talking about this, you need to make sure how accounting entries are coming here and how these entries are recorded in SAP. For that, what you need to do, you need to understand how sales procedure will happen in any organization. Meaning, before you come to SAP configuration steps, try to understand how a company is dealing with their sales. Now, whenever you're talking about sale, we understood you will have sales order. Now, in order to create a sales order, what is required? Is a sales order part of FI consultant activity, or do you have a dedicated SD module consultant? Meaning, slowly we will start understanding the different connecting points related to SAP. If you're talking about sales, most of the sales are related to SD. You will have a dedicated consultant for SD module here. What SD module consultant will do, you need to understand. In this process, what is your role, you need to understand. Meaning, during FI SD integration process, what we are going to do or what is our contribution in the FI SD integration procedure, and what are all the sales types that they have, and in the sales order, what you are going to understand. Meaning, when your company is selling anything to a customer, first of all, what do they sell? They may be selling a product, they may be selling an asset, they may be selling a service. If they're selling a product, if they're selling an asset, if they're selling any services, how it is going to affect or how this is going to get accounted, and how do I know that this is sale related to product, service or asset, and how I am delivering this product to the customer, and how I am realizing my profit on this. Do I know at the time of my sale what is the profit that I have made? And these points you will be able to understand only when you list out this sales process. Meaning, assuming from a company point of view. Whenever you're assuming from a company point of view, you will have to always keep in mind which process are we going to talk about. If you're going to talk about a sales process, do not consider any sales whatever comes in your mind. You need to consider sales which happen in an organization where SAP is used, because you are going to work as a FICO consultant. SAP FICO is used by a large scale companies. In short, the big companies will use SAP, wherein you do not have any particular store wherein you can go walk into the store, purchase like you purchase in the other smalls. It is not that way, it is not that procedure where SAP is used, because SAP is an expensive application. Small companies cannot afford it. In some scenarios, your examples will have to be practical. In some scenarios, your examples will have to be meaningful. Otherwise, we will be able to understand, but we will not be able to relate it to the practical SAP. Reason, the example that we are taking is not correct. Make sure whatever the example that you are taking is relevant to SAP, and this example, this understanding, whatever you are having, is going to help you in your project, is going to help you in your interview. Otherwise, whatever the understanding that we have, tomorrow if you are not able to convince the other person, especially in your interview, especially with your client, so that is going to create a negative impression which you are not supposed to target. Always make sure when you talk to somebody, you do not get a negative impression stating this is not correct, we don't use like this, and what if this is the situation, what if this is the situation. When you get cross questioning, when you get different other points, please make sure you have relevant justification, relevant answer with you. Reason, you are the one who is explaining the process. If you are explaining the process, please make sure you will have the sufficient information related to it. Now, in the last session related to integration or regarding accounts payable, we understood this. Now, similarly, related to AP, related to AR, let me put side by side. I'll put customer vendor. I'll put customer vendor here. When I put customer account, when I put vendor account, we are able to understand we are talking about sales and purchases. Sales and purchase is typically a single transaction. Sales and purchase is typically a single transaction between two parties called customer and vendor. Between two parties called customer and vendor. Whenever you're trying to understand APAR, you should always take one scenario. You should always take one scenario. For example, A purchased, let's say, material from B. If you assume that A purchased material from B, you need to understand who is A, who is B. Before you understand who is A, who is B, now you need to consider yourself either as A or as B first. For example, if you consider you are A or if you consider you are B. Okay, if you are considering yourself as A, now for A this is going to be a purchase. If you are considering yourself as A, the same transaction is going to be represented as purchases. If you consider yourself as B, the same transaction is going to be considered as sale. Now the accounting treatment, the way you record the entries in the SAP or in accounting will be different in case of purchases, in case of a sale. In any organization, this is quite common, buying and selling, purchases or sale. For example, if I am purchasing here, in order to record this transaction, if I am A, for me, B is equal to vendor. For me, B is becoming a vendor. On the other side, if I am considering about B, according to me, A is equal to customer. For A, B is becoming vendor because for A it is a purchases. Purchases are related to vendor. On the other side, when you consider yourself as B, as per B, A is a customer because A is purchasing from you. Since it is a customer, you are going to do a sale activity here. Now, what is the accounting impact? What is going to happen? It is the same with the reverse signature. Reverse signature, reverse sign mean if I say this is for 100, value of this transaction is 100. So what I'll do with this 100 here for A this 100 will be a negative 100, and for B, since it is a sale, this will be a positive 100. Why 100 negative? Why 100 positive? You're talking about purchases here. You purchased from B. Since you purchased from B, you are supposed to make payment to B. Since you are supposed to make payment to B, B becomes your liability. You are liable to pay to B to the extent of 100. Now this 100 will become your accounts payable. This 100 becomes your accounts payable. As we all know, accounts payable is a liability. Liability always shows a credit balance. Credit balance means negative number in SAP. Even in accounting, even in SAP, when you talk about credit, you are talking about negative number. On the other side, if I try to put this here, since you're talking about customer, you have sold something to customer for 100. For whatever customer has purchased from you, customer is supposed to pay 100 to you, meaning you are supposed to receive 100 from customer. For that reason, this 100 becomes accounts receivable for you. This 100 becomes accounts receivable for you. If you look at these two, these are the same transaction, but you have written in two ways. Point number one, considering yourself as customer. Point number two, considering yourself as a vendor. And whatever is happening in terms of customer, whatever is happening in terms of vendor, for the same transaction, if you are able to understand, if you are able to differentiate between this, you are very good at accounts payable, you are very good at accounts receivable. There is no point you will get confused, because majoritarily most of us will get confused between AP, AR, why debit, why credit, why asset, why liability, positive number, negative number, returns and all. You will get a lot of confusions because we do not see it from a practical perspective. we see this a transaction completely altogether, and we will see this a transaction completely altogether. But in reality, this is a single transaction. This is a single transaction between two parties, buyer and seller, in short, customer and vendor. See the same transaction, understand the impact of it in your accounting from the vendor perspective. From the same transaction, understand the impact of it from the customer point of view. If you are able to differentiate between customer, how they are accounting it, vendor, how they are accounting it for the same transaction, there is no point you will get confused between AP and AR. Now these are the basic fundamentals of your AP, basic fundamentals of your AR. Later on you will be having different scenarios within purchases, different scenarios within sales. But before you come to different scenario in purchases, in sale, you should have basic understanding on the standard accounts payable procedure in SAP, standard accounts payable procedure in SAP. How standard AP works, how standard AR works, you need to understand. Meaning, in order to make any transaction with a customer, or in order to create or make any transaction to a vendor. For example, if I try to make a transaction with vendor, or if I try to make a transaction with customer. Okay. Now, to vendor, what is going to happen? You are going to purchase from a vendor. To customer, what is going to happen? You are going to sell to a customer. Point number one, you are supposed to purchase it. Only when you have product with you, you can sell it. Before sale comes, purchase comes in the beginning. Before you initiate a sale process, you must be initiating purchasing process. During the purchases, how you are going to purchase it? First of all, how do you decide that you need to purchase? Who will tell that this item has to be purchased or this service has to be purchased? There is a procedure in any organization. It is not like that some user wants something, or some employee wants something, just like that they will not go and purchase. Just like that they will not ask their manager to purchase it. They will not do it. Meaning, in any organization, if they want to make any purchases, if they want to do any purchases, there is a procedure for it. There is a procedure for it, and that procedure is basically called as your P2P process or procurement process. When you talk about P2P, you're talking about procurement to payment. In short, procurement is nothing but purchase. You'll have to understand how your company is procuring the materials or services. On the other side, you have sales process. No company will directly sell to whoever comes. Before you sell something to a customer, you want to know your customer. Who is this customer, where he stays, whether he'll make payment or not. All this information you want to understand before you sell it to a customer. Reason I'll put. Now this customer, whatever you do, is represented as O2C cycle, order to cash. From receiving order from the customer until receiving the cash from your customer, you'll have to capture everything in O2C process. Now here, when you purchase anything from a vendor, you need to identify one particular vendor. How you are going to identify a vendor? Before you identify a vendor, you should know which vendor I need to identify. Meaning, if I wanted to find out a vendor, I should know which product I want to buy. According to the point that I know that this product I want to buy, based on that I am going to go and identify who are all the suppliers in the market who can give me this particular product. For example, you want to purchase a laptop. Assuming that there is a new staff member joining in your organization. Let's say the new staff member who is going to join, maybe at very top management, maybe a new CEO is joining, new CFO is joining, new finance director is joining, somebody is joining at the management level. When somebody is joining at management level, you want to give them a laptop. Usually what you will do, if anybody who is joining at the top management level, any company will be giving them a brand new laptop. Any company will give them a brand new laptop, not the used laptop. For example, now you know that in the next week, let's say today is 3rd, on 10th of February, a new management employee is joining, or a new person is joining who is joining in at a management cadre. Now you need to give a laptop to him, assuming that you have seen currently there are no stock, or currently there is no stock of laptops. Now you need to decide which laptop is supposed to be given to that particular staff or for that particular employee. How a company decides what laptop is to be given? Company decides based on the cadre. Based on the cadre means based on the employee category, based on the employee designation grouping, they will decide. Assuming for that particular employee, you are supposed to provide a Apple laptop. Assuming for that particular employee, you are supposed to give Apple laptop. Now you need to buy an Apple laptop, and for that you will have a specific configuration prescribed, meaning you will have to buy a laptop of 512 GB or 10 GB RAM, whatever the specifications are there. You have that specification list or the budget for it. Budget for it, we mean to say, whenever any company is purchasing anything, for every purchase there is something called budget. Budget, we mean to say, what is the maximum amount that we can spend to purchase a laptop. For that matter, any product, any service that you want to purchase, we all know that same product you will get for different price ranges depending on the supplier, depending on the quality, depending on the different parameters. Now you have to decide what is your budget. Within your budget, you need to finalize some product from one particular vendor. Here, as we are planning to purchase an Apple laptop, first you need to identify who are all the suppliers for Apple laptop. Who are all the suppliers for Apple laptop? Because you just like that don't want to go and place the order or don't want to go out and purchase it. What you will do, you will raise a request to the procurement team. You will have a procurement team in every organization. When you raise a request, when you raise a requirement to the procurement team, what this procurement team will do, now they know that we need to purchase an Apple laptop and the Apple laptop is to be delivered or is to be available to be handed over to the staff or to an employee on 10th of February, meaning before 9th laptop must be received and it is ready to be given to the staff. So you accordingly, when the purchasing team, when the procurement team is going to the suppliers, what they will do, they will inquire about the product. They say that this is what a requirement. Now according to the product, they will come to know who are the suppliers in the market. If I wanted to purchase a laptop, I cannot go to a supermarket or I cannot go to a manufacturing company and all, because my requirement is to purchase a laptop. I need to look for a vendor who sells or who deals in laptop. Assuming I have finalized somebody like Reliance Digital, Chroma or Bajaj Electronics or directly Apple Store, something like that, I would have finalized 3-4 vendors or 3-4 suppliers who will provide the Apple laptop, and I would have given my requirement. This is what my requirement, and please give your quotations. Now each supplier will give you the quotation. We will provide you the laptop for this particular cost. These are the features of the laptop. These are the models. These are the additional benefits that we are providing. Maybe we are giving extended warranty. We will provide free delivery. We will give additional accessories free. Something or the other thing they will quote in their quotation. Based on the multiple quotations, whatever you are receiving from the supplier, you are going to finalize one quotation. You are going to finalize one quotation, meaning you are going to decide from which supplier we are going to purchase the laptop. Assuming we have decided that we will be purchasing it from Bajaj Electronics. You've decided that you are going to purchase it from Bajaj Electronics, considering different factors. Considering different factors, you decided to go with Bajaj Electronics. Now, what needs to happen when you decide to go with Bajaj Electronics? Before you decide to go with Bajaj Electronics, all the negotiations have already happened. When I say all the negotiations have already happened, you have get into a call with the Bajaj Electronics, or you met somebody from the Bajaj Electronics, any sales representative or any such person. You would have explained your requirement, they would have explained their sales process, and finally you would have agreed that okay, this is the final price that we will be selling it for you, considering you are the premium customer and your big corporate company. We are expecting more orders from you in near future. Something or the other chit chat will happen. They will decide that okay, we will give it to you for 5% discount. Something they will say. You agree to purchase the laptop, assuming for 1,20,000. Assuming you decided to purchase a laptop for 1,20,000. For this amount, you are going to place an order to the customer. 1 minute. Okay. You are going to place an order with the Bajaj Electronics. When you place an order with the Bajaj Electronics, how you are going to place an order? You are going to place an order. This order, whatever you are going to place with Bajaj Electronics, is basically represented as purchase order. It's basically represented as purchase order. Before you create a purchase order, you need to see whether this supplier is already an existing supplier or he is a new supplier. Meaning, do we have Bajaj Electronics already listed in our vendor list, or the Bajaj Electronics is a complete new vendor? Assuming if Bajaj Electronics is a complete new vendor, if Bajaj Electronics is a complete new vendor, there is a different procedure. If Bajaj Electronics is an existing vendor, there is a different procedure. In case if it is a new vendor, you need to make sure new vendor is created in the system. When you're talking about new vendor is created in the system, who will create the vendor master? Just like that, you will not create by typing Bajaj Electronics in Google. You will come to know Bajaj Electronics, their contact details, address and all. That way nobody creates the vendor. And if you know that Bajaj is the vendor, you are not going to create it straight away. There is a procedure in any organization, especially when a vendor master is created, there will be a procedure that is to be followed strictly in any organization. Meaning, whenever you want to purchase anything from a supplier, there should be a new vendor request form or supplier registration procedure will be there, in which the procurement team will fill up all the information that he is the purchaser, he is the supplier that we identified, this is what we are going to purchase from him, value of the purchase is this is the quotation given by them, all the supporting documentation they will attach, they will send it to the respective team with the appropriate approvals. Based on this documentation, somebody in the client side creating the vendor master in SAP. Once vendor master is created, they will make sure address whatever is given by the vendor is a registered address, is a valid address. Meaning, whatever the address that you receive from the vendor, there should be a supporting official document from the supplier that this is my name, this is my contact information, this is my tax registration number, this is my payment details. There must be an official documentation from the supplier, meaning your supplier must be a registered supplier or he must be a registered vendor. When you have all this information, accordingly the other person will be creating the vendor. While creating the vendor, they will make sure name and address of the vendor is matching with the supporting documentation provided by the vendor. Meaning, when they give a quotation, they will be giving the quotation in the official letterhead. When they give quotation in the official letterhead contains vendor contact name, vendor complete address, tax registration numbers, their payment methods and all will be listed. According to that, you are going to create a vendor. Based on the vendor master creation, the procurement team will be creating a purchase order, and when you create a purchase order, your purchase order will have to be taken as a printout, because you need to give this order copy to the supplier. In order to give the order copy to the customer, you'll have to take a printout of the purchase order. How purchase order looks like, you need to understand. How purchase order looks like, you need to understand, and what information is printed on the purchase order, how this information is printed. Is there anything that you need to know about this purchase order from a FICO perspective? Those connecting points, those interlinking points with respect to FI or with respect to accounting, we need to understand. Once purchase order is created, you are going to receive the goods or services from the vendor. When you receive the goods and services from the vendor, you call it as GRN process. You call it as GRN process, goods receipt note. Whenever you're receiving goods or services from the supplier, you are going to account it. When you're accounting it, you are going to receive something. What are we receiving? Either you receive a product or you receive a service. If you're receiving a product, you need to debit to the product account. If you're receiving a service, you need to debit to the service account, because product is an asset, asset is always a debit, service is an expense, expense is also always a debit. In either ways, whatever you purchase, it will go to debit side. Whatever you purchase, it will go to debit side. Now credit side, you are going to write it to the GRIR clearing account. Credit side, you are going to write it to the GRIR clearing account. After this, you will receive invoice, and before you post the invoice, you need to obtain certain approvals. No invoice of a vendor will be directly posted in any organization. Your invoice copy must be approved by the business, stating that this particular order is received, whatever the product service we ordered on this, we have received it and it is in good condition, we are okay to pay to the supplier. Only after receiving the necessary approvals from the business, the user will be recording the invoice. When they record the invoice, they are going to debit GRIR account, they are going to credit vendor account. Here, we are transferring the liability from GRIR account to the supplier account. Why we are transferring? Because when you receive the goods or when you receive the service, your intention is only to account that the goods are received or services are received, and you are going to create a temporary liability, not the actual liability. Your actual liability is with vendor, but your temporary liability is with GRIR account. Why we are creating a temporary liability? Because unless and until you verify the goods and services, and unless and until you receive the invoice copy, and unless and until this invoice is approved by the business, you are not going to release payment to vendor. In order to hold the payment until all these activities are completed, you are going to follow a procedure called GRN. Now, what is this GRN? In this GRN, you are going to use a temporary clearing account called GRIR account. It is a temporary liability account which will get offset, which will get zero once your purchase order process is completed. Now, how your purchase order process is getting completed? This is completed with the help of three-way matching. This is completed with the help of three-way matching. When we are talking about three-way matching, we need to understand three-way matching is nothing but purchase order information is verified with GRN information and with invoice information. Meaning, if you ordered one quantity must be received, one quantity invoice must be received. And if you ordered for 100 rupees, you received the product amounting 100 rupees, you received the invoice amounting 100 rupees. Wherever there is any mismatches, you will have to sit and understand why the mismatches are coming and how do we rectify these mismatches. Make sure these points you are able to understand before you move forward with your accounts payable. If this procedure is not clear, whatever we do or whatever we understand, whatever we talk about accounts payable, wherever you talk to whosoever you talk to, nobody will say that you are good at accounts payable unless you talk this procedure, because you're talking about purchasing process in accounts payable. See it from the purchasing procedure, understand what is your client purchasing procedure, how purchases are happening in your client. That is what is going to make you understand how your client is using accounts payable. And in your accounts payable, what kind of reports are executed, what kind of transactions are executed. All these points you need to understand, what reconciliations they are doing on a monthly basis. Okay. Similarly, on the other side, when you take sale, your customer is going to place the order. Now, anyone can come and place the order, but you're not going to accept order from everybody. You will have sales representatives and all who are going to bring customers to your company. The salesperson or sales representatives, when they bring a customer to the company, they say that we have done the thorough investigation, thorough verification about this particular customer. They are, well established customers in the market. Their payment history is good and they are, operating in this location. They are in the market for last couple of years, and we can trust this company, we can trust this person, we can sell our product or we can sell our services to this customer. Now that way, when you receive the order, you are going to take the order and you are going to see whether you can fulfill this order or not. How you are going to see if you can fulfill the order or not? Whatever the product that the customer is placing with you, maybe a product, maybe a service, you have to see whether you are providing that product, whether you are providing that service to the customer. If you are able to provide it, what you are going to do, you will accept the order. Based on the order, you are going to perform the delivery to the customer. Based on the order, you are going to perform the delivery to the customer. When you're talking about a delivery to the customer, you are either talking about a product delivery or you are talking about a service delivery. If the customer is asking for any particular service, we need to make sure that the service is rendered to the customer, or if customer is asking for any particular product, you will make sure that the product is handed over to the customer or delivered at the customer location. Once delivery happens, you'll have to make sure goods are issued. We need to make sure goods are issued. How goods are issued? You'll have to take out the stock. You'll have to take out the stock and you'll have to make sure that the amount of the quantity, whatever they are asking, if your customer is asking for 10 quantity, before you issue the goods, you should have the sufficient quantity available with you. Meaning, you must know what is your stock and how your materials are verified in SAP. As a FICO consultant, you must know how stock balances are checked, how stock quantities are verified. Because if there is no material with you, if there is no stock with you, you cannot sell it to the customer. If there is no stock, then there is no point of selling it to customer, because you cannot do a stock out. For this, you need to have the basic understanding: what material are we selling to the customer, what is the available quantity, if you have the quantity, what is going to happen, if you do not have the quantity, what is going to happen. After delivering it to the product, after doing the goods issue, you are going to create a billing to the customer, meaning you are going to issue an invoice to the customer. When you are issuing an invoice to the customer, you are not supposed to create backdated invoices, or you are not supposed to create future dated invoices. This is common everywhere. For example, if you go and purchase anything today in any shop, you do not accept if somebody is giving you a product today with tomorrow's date as billing date or invoice date. You will not accept it, because if you are purchasing it today, you want to have today's date in the billing date. Mean your invoice date must be today only. If I sell you something today, I will put yesterday's date. You will not accept it, because that will have legal complications, that will have legal issues. Normally what will happen, whenever you purchase anything, we don't even see what is there inside the bill. This is what happens: you take the bill, you throw the bill in the dustbin the moment you step out from the shop. We don't even see what we purchased, whether the amount that we have seen on the counter or on the product, is it the same amount, or is there any discount, is it charged additionally also, we don't see. But that is all has to be verified. That is all has to be verified, and that is the reason in any company, when it comes to purchases, they don't make any payment directly to the vendor. For example, you purchased it a 5 quantity. No surprise, it may be billed 6 times. You received only 5 quantity, but in the invoice it is showing value for 6 quantity. But you received only 5 quantity, there is a mismatch. How you can identify that there is a mismatch? When you compare the invoice. For that to happen, you need to look at the invoice first. But when we do any purchases for personal things, whatever you purchase, wherever you purchase, everywhere you will get an invoice copy, everywhere you will get a bill. But are we looking at the bill? Are we looking at the invoice copy? No, we are not looking at the invoice. We are not looking at the billing. Why we are not looking at? Because we have not seen it from the business point of view so far. You have seen it only from the personal perspective. According to our personal point of view, it is not relevant for us. So we will throw it. We don't even care to look at it. But from now onwards, what you need to do, you need to look at the invoice. You need to look at the invoice. For example, you went to a supermarket, you purchased some 10 products, 10 grocery items you purchased, and when you are at the billing counter, they will not create the bill unless the product is scanned. Meaning, if the stock is not removed from their inventory, they cannot create the billing. Nobody will do it. Why they are not able to do the billing? You need to understand, and you need to connect it practically to the any real environment, even with any SAP application, any ERP application. For example, you try to purchase a shirt. You try to purchase a shirt, and then this shirt has got a barcode. When they try to bill it, they will scan that barcode. When they scan the barcode, what system will do? It will read what is that particular product, and what is the item code, and what is the current price of it, and what is the available stock of it, and how many you are selling it to customer. They say that if they are able to scan that barcode, they say that one quantity is sold, meaning immediately in their material, in their inventory report, one quantity will be minus. So far I am able to see 5 shirts are available. The moment I scan this barcode, 5 shirts will become 4 shirts automatically, so that others can know that our stock is only 4 currently. Instead of that, if I try to sell it directly, that is not allowed. That is not allowed. And if I am not able to scan that barcode, I will try to enter manually. Even if it is not accepting, I will not sell that shirt only. I will tell that there is some problem, you come and try to purchase it tomorrow. Because of some issues, we cannot sell it. Because if they are not able to take out the stock from their inventory, they are not supposed to create the invoice. This is common anywhere. This is common in SAP also. Meaning, you need to understand, don't just think that customer comes, purchases, you post the accounting entry. That is not the way that we have to understand accounts payable or accounts receivable. Try to take simple examples through which we can connect to the concept. When you get the concept, you can take any scenario, any requirement, any company, any client. You will not have any confusion. Once you take that, okay, this is how system is happening. Now in your invoice, it will list complete details of the products. What products you have sold, you have purchased, what is the value of each product, if there are any discounts that are given, what is the tax amount that is charged, everything is included there, and what is the amount that you are paying, everything is added in your invoice copy. Now same thing if you are doing it in SAP. Same thing if you are doing it in SAP, how you are going to account it, how this is going to happen in SAP, you need to see, because you are talking from accounts payable perspective, you're talking from accounts receivable perspective, you are telling you have 4 years of experience in AP, you have 4 years of experience in AR. If somebody is asking you, can you tell me one purchasing example from your current client, or can you tell me one sales example from your current client, then you're not going to talk about purchase account debit, vendor account credit, customer account debit, sales account credit. Nobody will listen to you, because they do not want to see if you know purchase account debit, vendor account credit, if you know sales account credit, customer account debit. This, even if you go talk to an intermediate candidate, he will tell you. Even if you go and talk to an intermediate first year candidate, they will tell what is the accounting entry for this. Meaning that is not the expectation. Expectation is to see whether you are able to understand the business process and you are able to explain it or not. Kumar, can you please close your camera? Okay, whether they are able to explain it or not is what verified in your interview. Here, whenever you are making any purchases, it is straightforward because it is a cost to you. Purchase is an expense to you, purchase is treated as a cost, it is straightforward. But when it comes to sales, sales is a revenue to you. When you're talking about the sales is a revenue, whatever the product that you are selling to a customer, you are going to make profit from it. You are going to make profit from it. For example, you sold a product to customer for 1000 rupees. You sold a product to the customer for 1000 rupees, and I wanted to know what is the profit on this particular product sold to the customer. For example, you may get the same question in your interview, or when you say that, I learned SAP FICO, I worked in SAP FICO for 4 years, 5 years. Now I am very good at accounts receivable. Ask me what you want and all. I will tell you. If you want customer account group, I will tell the T code. If you want how number range is created, how customer is created, how invoice is posted, how report is coming. I don't want all this. I just want an example. Or I would say that I have a confusion. For example, we sold a product to a customer for 1000 rupees. How can I see what is the profit made on this sale, which is amounting 1000 rupees to the customer? Assuming there is a sale happened and the sale value is 1000 rupees, how I will know what is the profit that we made from this particular sale? Is there any report? No. Is there any accounting entry? When you write any accounting entry, you are writing customer account debit, sales account credit. If the sale value is 1000, customer debit 1000 rupees, sales credit 1000 rupees. You are nowhere writing whether profit on sale or loss on sale. This is not accounted anywhere. But we know that whenever you make any sale, you are always going to make sale for the profit. Now, if this sale is related to 1000 rupees, what is the profit from this sale? I will not know. And no company will record the sale profit at the time of sale accounting entry. Reason, sales are made by the end user. When I say sales are made by end user, I am the salesperson. When I do a sale, I am only supposed to know what is the MRP of it and what is the maximum discount I can offer on it. I would say MRP is 1000 rupees. MRP is 1000 rupees and I am giving some promo offer, or I sold it for 950 rupees for some reason to some selected customer on selected days. Now on this particular product, the person who is billing, the person who is creating the invoice will never know what is the profit to the company. Why they will not know? Because it is the company's secret. If your employees are knowing what is the profit that you are making on every sale, then your business is open. There's no confidentiality here. Now you'll have to maintain confidentiality in your accounting, especially when it comes to sales and all, where your profits are accounted. So that is the reason no accounting will allow you to record sale of anything to your customer with the help of profit. Anything that you sell to a customer, you are not going to account what is the profit on it, except when you sell the asset. except when you sell the asset, because when you sell the asset, in the entry itself it is accounted. Asset is an exception to it. Asset is an exception. Apart from that, you need to understand why we are not accounting. Then how company knows that what is the profit that they are making from their particular sale. Now we are talking about, we are preparing financial statement, P&L account, balance sheet every month. Now from my P&L I will come to know what is my profit. Now your P&L profit is different, your profit on the sales is different. These two are two completely different profit figures that you get. From your P&L you are going to talk about your operating profit. You're going to talk about your operating profit. From this particular sale, you're going to talk about your profit on a particular product segment, or profit on a particular customer, profit on a particular sale, on a particular product, on particular dimension, whatever you want. Now here, how profits are verified? How I will come to know what is the profit that I made? Can I make a sale to a customer for loss also? How I will do it? For example, I am selling it to 1000 rupees a product. If the value of the product is 800 to me, if my value is 800, I am selling it to 1000 rupees for the customer, straight away I will come to know that 200 is the profit. But if the value of the product is 800, can I sell it to 700, wherein I will get a loss of 100? Will system allow this? You need to understand the different points wherein you are going to realize, okay, if this is the situation, if this is the scenario, this is what is going to happen. Tomorrow when you're in the interview, this is how you will get questions, this is how they will give you different scenarios, and these are all the points are represented as scenario based questions, scenarios in your business process. If you are able to understand points in this way, it is easy for us to connect to any business process what happens in a generic way. More or less, wherever you talk about sales process, purchasing process, it is one and the same. Exactly not the same, but it is exactly similar. With minute changes, you will have the procedure. And these minute changes is what you need to understand. Make sure you are able to have that confidence, so that tomorrow you have to work with a client wherein you are going to talk about accounts payable procedure or accounts receivable procedure. Now, what are you going to talk about accounts payable, accounts receivable? According to us, what we know is create 5 steps, accounts payable is completed. Create 5 step, accounts receivable is completed. Is it that what we are going to talk to the customer, to your client, when you're collecting the business process, when you're collecting the business requirement? No, this is not the process. Then what are we going to understand? Meaning, you need to understand the client business process. The business process of client is always classified into 3 segments. One is your master data, two is your transaction data, three is report. Meaning, how your customer masters are created, how your vendor masters are created, how many customers do you have currently, how many vendors do you have currently, how you are segregating your customers, how you are segregating your vendor. Meaning, are you segregating like domestic customer, international customer, employee customer, or any other logic you have? They will tell you. And what information do you update in your customer master? And what are the payment methods that you are accepting from customer master? How many days credit period are you giving to customer master? Okay, and what kind of transactions are you processing with your customer? How you are accounting this transaction? Can you tell us the accounting entries? When you sell anything to a customer, how entries you are recording? Then your client will tell you with an example. They will take the sample business cases, live real-time cases. They will explain you, this is the sale that we did just now, or this is the yesterday's sale report, and this sale is like this, and this is the workflow, or this is the process flow of a sales in this case, or this is the sale process flow in the other case. Meaning, they will give you different scenarios. You need to understand all the scenarios and make sure you are able to map it in SAP. And are you going to understand all alone this is sales process? No, you are going to sit along with another consultant called SD consultant. That is where you call it as FISD integration. All the sales are having connection with your FI, because whenever you sell something, you have to account it. You need to update your sales in P&L. You need to update the product or services in your balance sheet. So for this to happen, you need to sit along with the SD consultant while understanding sales process. Similarly, while understanding the purchase process, you have to sit along with the MM consultant to understand how they are purchasing, how vendors are created, how they are making payments to vendor, how many vendors they have, what is the frequency of new vendor master, do they get new vendors every day, or how many new vendors comes in a week, in a day, and how they are making sure that there are no duplicates in vendor, what are the payment terms, payment methods that they have, and what kind of reports are they executing at the month end, and what kind of reports are executing on daily basis, what reconciliations they're currently doing, and what are the challenges that they are facing in the current system, what are they expecting when they move on to SAP, any automations they have in accounts payable, receivable, all these points when you talk, when you discuss with your client, that is where you will get to know what needs to done, what needs to be done, what configuration you'll have to maintain. Otherwise it is the same config, whatever the 5 steps you have, it will be the same 5 step, but before you do this 5 step, you'll have to sit, do a lot of groundwork, homework, requirement gathering, documentation of requirement gathering, sending this requirement document to the client, getting the sign off approval from the client on this requirement gathering. Only after receiving a lot of these points, you are going to log into SAP to do the config. Config is 5-minute activity, but before you do this 5-minute activity, there is a lot of effort that needs to be put in. Whether we are aware of all these procedures, efforts that are put in by a consultant, and all these efforts are supposed to be put in by a FICO consultant, meaning you have to do it. Then how you are going to do it? We are all considering only about configuration. 10 minutes my config is done, 30 minutes my config is done. But who will do the preceding activities? Who will do the succeeding activities? Meaning what is supposed to be done before config? What is supposed to be done after config? Who will take care? You only have to take care, because you are the FICO consultant. You do not have any boss. You do not have any subordinate under you or above you to make sure that things are moving on. You are all alone. You are individual contributor. You are going to work all alone in your project on the task that is assigned to you. Make sure these activities you are able to perform without having any confusion, wherein your client is happy and your manager, your project team is also happy with what you are doing. Otherwise we will end up talking only configuration. The moment you start talking only the configuration, it gives a very negative vibration, negative impression everywhere, because your client does nothing with your configuration. You cannot even tell your client, see, I will explain you the accounts payable config, I will explain you accounts receivable config. Your client does not need it. So even though you are master at configuration, you do nothing with it. And you cannot tell your project lead, your team lead, your manager that I know all the configuration, let me tell you, please listen to my config, I will configure, please watch it. Nobody cares about it. Meaning you cannot tell your configuration to anybody. Even in your interview also nobody is concerned about your configuration, but we are the only one who are mad about configuration. Meaning you have to see it from a practical perspective, what is expected from you. Everybody is expecting your process knowledge, your business process understanding from the respective business. Meaning we're talking about AP business process. I want to know if you are able to understand AP business process in any company, in any organization, how account payable operates, how account payable works. If I'm able to understand, I'm fine. Meaning consider yourself that you're talking to a person. Let's say you may be having friends who are working in BPO industries, BPO sectors, or as accountants. Talk to them, ask them how they are working on accounts payable. If somebody you have, or if you know somebody who worked on accounts payable, talk to them. What is happening in your accounts payable? What do you do on a daily basis? Similarly, if you have somebody who is working in accounts receivable, I'm talking about end users. You talk about end users, you talk about accountants who are working in any small companies. Ask them what happens in accounts payable, what happens in accounts receivable. Have at least a basic understanding of it from your friends who are working as accountants, who are working as end users. Don't talk about consultants, ignore the consultants. And then when you discuss with them, when you talk to them, sit back on your SAP FICO, refer back whatever you understood on SAP FICO accounts payable, accounts receivable, try to map it. Okay, this is what my understanding on accounts payable, this is what is my understanding on accounts receivable. Now when I spoke to my friend who is working as accounts payable analyst, he said in their company this is how they are working. When I spoke to another friend who is working as accounts receivable analyst, he said this is how they are working. Now, when I try to relate their process with my understanding of APAR, if they are relevant, if you are able to understand, it is fine. Your understanding, your thought process is correct, which means you can feel that yes, I am now comfortable, I am confident that I am talking, I am understanding in the similar way how users are working in APAR. If not, there is a problem. Whatever they are telling, everything is new to you, but whatever you did is different. All you know about AP is create account group, create number range, assignment of number range, create master data, create invoice, create credit memo, create a down payment, create payment, generate a report. AP is over, AR is over. If this is what we know about APAR, then whatever the APAR knowledge we have is not sufficient. Is not sufficient, then you need to work on it. What you need to work on it, you need to see what else you need to understand, how you need to prepare for it, how you need to explain it to the other person. If this is the situation, when you sit in any interview, whatever the question that you get from your interviewer, you will not be able to understand the question. Forget about the answer, you don't understand the question itself. That is where we will come out say that interview is very tough, they're asking all scenario based questions, nothing is from the syllabus. This is not, there is no syllabus for this. This is not your academic exam wherein there is a textbook 10-page content. After every 10 page you will have important questions, guide, question bank and all. Nothing will be there. This is all related to practical real time. If you take any two companies, no two companies will work similar. No two companies business process is the same. They will be relevant, they will be similar, meaning the logic concept will be the same, the way they execute is completely different. You have to make sure whatever you are working, you need to make sure whatever you are working you are comfortable with it, and you're able to relate it with your business process, and this business process you are able to map it in SAP with simple examples of your own. You don't have to take complicated examples, scenarios not required. Take simple example, because you are at the beginning stage now. You're at the beginning stage. Overnight nothing will come. If you sit today night or tomorrow morning, nothing is going to happen. Slowly you are going to start to understand what is happening. That is how you are going to improve. That is how you are going to understand your practical SAP FICO knowledge, with which you can survive in your job, with which you can feel very confident, you can feel very comfortable wherever you are, meaning nobody can do anything to you, and you will see huge respect in any project by any user, by any manager, whosoever you work with, because they respect your knowledge. Otherwise you have to be scared of everywhere. Even if you join any company, from day one onwards you will be scared. Why you will be scared right from day one? Whosoever you meet after joining any company, everybody will ask you about your past only. Everybody will ask about your past only. The way you meet any person, you will say that hi, how are you? The similar way you will have question related to your past. You meet somebody, what you do, you say that hi, my name is Ajay, how are you, what is your name? That's it. When you join any company, when you meet anybody in any project, in any organization, if you work as a consultant, everybody will put you simple questions. What is your name? Okay, how many years of experience you have, where you worked before, how many projects you did. This is what you get wherever you go, whosoever you talk to, meaning you should have clear understanding of it. And we don't even care to read what is there in our resume, and you don't know what are the client names that you have in your resume, and tomorrow when somebody is asking, you may tell something irrelevant answer, because we are not thinking to that extent. Our thinking is limited to configurations only. As long as we are limiting our thinking to the configuration, it will create unnecessary problems. Even simple points will create unnecessary problems for us, meaning these are all our mistakes only. We are only creating problems to ourselves because we do not know about this, or we may not be having right awareness of it. But if you are aware of it, this is what is going to happen, this is how things will be. Accordingly you will practice, accordingly you will prepare, accordingly you will tune your mindset, so that tomorrow even if somebody is trying to create confusion, you will be confident that you will never get confused, because you do not know with what intention the other person is talking to you. They may be talking to you nicely, sweetly, to get some information from you. Simple example, I would say that I am your project manager or I'm your team lead. I am your fellow consultant in SAP FICO. You joined newly in my project. By looking at your body language, by looking at your talking, your the appearance and all, I feel that something is wrong with this guy. I'll talk to you that you're talking very nicely, or you're very smart and all. I'll put some nice words to you. I'll say that I have a friend, I have my colleague, I have my friend, my brother, who is planning to learn SAP FICO. Do you know anybody who teaches SAP FICO good? Is very interested and all. You will get overexcited. You say that okay, this person is trusting me, is very nice person, is very sweet. You say that there is Mr. ABCD person, he is very good trainer, I learned from him only. I think new batch he started currently and all. You will tell, meaning unknowingly you're opening up. You're opening up unknowingly, meaning your intention is not to reveal anything related to you, but unknowingly you're talking certain things which is revealing your information indirectly, which is revealing your information. And you will tell that I have his contact number, or you will tell that his badge is there, I am his student only and all. You are going to tell, you tell that, but you tell that you learned from him 4 years ago. Always keep your experience in your mind. If you are talking, or if you are entering into the company, or if you're talking to anybody that you are 3 years of experienced candidate, you should freeze, you should fix these points in your mind. If you are in 2024, if you are telling that you have 3 years of experience, 4 years of experience, deduct 4 years from now. 2024 means you should tell to anybody that you learned SAP in 2019 and all. Never tell that you learned SAP in the recent past. You don't know about the trainers and all. You heard that this person is teaching good. You heard that your friend or somebody in your network is learning there. But don't relate it directly to yourself. There are people who lost jobs because of these silly reasons. And you do not know why people will talk to you, why people will put you some questions. They'll ask you some simple questions, silly questions, stupid questions, with which they will gather your information. You should have that smartness to answer to what extent you need to talk, what exactly you need to talk. Otherwise, you will get overexcited, you will reveal everything. These mistakes you are not supposed to make. You know the background, how you are entering into the market, you know the reality of the market. You should be confident enough, you should be conscious enough how to handle all the situations in your project once you join the company. That is where your actual test begins. It is not about your interview preparation, your sitting and all. That is not your actual test. Anybody can easily pass out in it. You can easily clear your interview because it's a 30-minute show. If you are able to perform well in 30 minutes, you will get selected. No magic in it. But after that, every day 8 hours you have to perform. How you will perform 8 hours a day? You do not know who will call you, and you do not know what they will assign to you. You do not know when they say this is very urgent, you solve it immediately. You do not know which scenario you are asked to work. You do not know in which meeting you are asked to sit. You do not know to which user, which client they ask you to talk. How you will handle all this situation, you need to have a clarity. That is where your actual SAP FICO, what you are supposed to know, what you are supposed to understand, not configuration areas, not the T codes and all. Go beyond that. Go beyond that. Only then you will be able to manage. Only then you will be able to feel comfortable once you are in the project. Else, everything will be new to you. You will find that I don't know all these things before. Everything will be, brand new, fresh scenario for you in the market when you are in the project. You do not know how to proceed. You do not know what to do. And we are all talking about configuration. When you do the configuration, you have to realize basic points about the config. Whenever you do any configuration, you will get something you called a customization request. Any changes that you do in SAP, when you save it, you will get a prompt, you will get a message pop-up screen, one number will come there, which is nothing but customization request or transport request. In short, we call it as a TR. You should know what is TR, how configuration TRs are created, and how many clients are there in every company, meaning what is your system landscape, where you are creating the config, how the config is moved, and what T code you will use it, who will move it, what are the supporting documentation for every stage, and what documentation is required for any configuration to be deployed into production system. Everything you need to understand, how you will release a TR. If you are not aware of all these points, whatever the config that we do is not going to help us practically. That is going to help us only for the practice purpose. If our intention is only to know SAP to practice, it is fine. But if our intention is to know SAP to get a job, to make a career in FICO as a consultant, then this is only the basic 10% of it. Your configuration is only hardly 10% of your SAP FICO consulting activity. Remaining 90% is there. And if you are focusing on only this 10%, we feel that we will get the job. With this 10% knowledge, 100% you will not get job. There are many things which you are supposed to know as a FICO consultant, what you will do. If possible, talk to people who are working as FICO consultants and ask them how many times they will do configuration, how many company codes they will create. You will be surprised. Then you will come to know the reality. That is what you are supposed to think. Accordingly, you need to understand, okay, if this is how a consultant is working in a day in day out in their project, then tomorrow if I become a consultant, similar way I will also be working. Meaning, when somebody is asking me about what you did in your previous project, what was your contribution, what is your role and responsibility, you should have a meaningful, justifiable logical answers. Meaning, when you tell something to me that this is what you did in your project, I should feel yes, okay, correct. But I should not feel that you are telling everything, you only did it. That is not the situation. But whenever we see our resumes, whenever we see the roles and responsibilities, you put full points related to FICO course content. You say that you were part of business blueprint until everything, and you tell that you do not know that who will do what activity in any project. Meaning, as a FICO consultant, what exactly we will do, we are not aware, and we need to make sure those points we are aware of clearly, and you will be able to differentiate your activities in a project. If it is implementation, if it is rollout, if it is support, if you are able to differentiate, if you are able to tell, then it is well and good. Any person who you talk to will get convinced that yes, you're talking points which are practically correct. I don't know whether you are talking from your experience or talking from your knowledge or training. I don't care. I'm only concerned about whether you're talking right points in the right way or not. If you're talking right points in the right way, I'm fine with you. I'm not going to do anything to do your in detailed scrutiny of your background. I don't care about it. All I wanted to make sure is when I take you in my project, things will move fast, things will move fine. If I am able to get that confidence with your interaction, with your discussion, anybody is fine with you. Anybody is fine with you. And you need to understand different points related to interview. Meaning, in any interview, how somebody will select, how somebody will shortlist somebody. Meaning, if you are able to understand these points, accordingly you will have your plan. Meaning, you will have a clarity. Okay, this is how things are happening. No company will interview 1,000 members. They will only interview 5-6 members. Out of those 5-6, they will select one. It's not that they want the best to give the award or to nominate for the Oscar and all. It's not that. If 5 members are coming for interview today, out of 5 they will select one. Or if out of 5 nobody is at least good, decent enough, they will call another 5, or they will take some more people, and whosoever they feel that okay, this candidate is okay. They don't want the candidate is to be best. If they find this candidate is okay, manageable, they are okay with it. And these manageable candidates are all like us only, like you, like me. Like you, like me, meaning whatever you know, whatever I know, the other person also knows the same thing. It all depends on how they're presenting in the interview. And if you're able to present in a right way, in a better way in the interview, you will get better result. Otherwise, you will get the negative result. Make sure you are able to differentiate the points in a clear manner. Okay, so this is all about the process that you'll have to know about APAR, or anything which is related to APAR. The way, the procedure, sequence, activities that you perform in SAP will remain similar. It is just that business process changes, but as a consultant, the way you execute them, the way you understand them is different, because you're not an end user to by heart the process. You are a consultant who is going to understand the process and design it, map it in SAP. For that, you should be flexible enough. When I say flexible, when you talk to 3-4 clients, you may be having 3-4 different processes. Don't get confused in that process. In that client, it is different. In this client, it is different. In the other client, it is different. That is how things will be. Nothing is straightforward. Nothing is similar. Nothing is the same like data entry. Because keep in your mind, you are not an end user to do same activity 10 times a day. You'll have to make sure different issues will come, different things will come into your bucket, where you may be having an experience idea, where you may be completely no clue about it. You have to sit and do research and development, R&D experiment, proceed further, clear the issues or provide the solutions and all. For that, your understanding, your thought process should be in a different way. Meaning, the way you look at the system should be completely different from SAP perspective. If yes, then you will be fine, you will be confident enough to get into the market, to get any job, to survive in any job as a FICO consultant confidently. If not, we will have to struggle. Don't get into a situation where you have to struggle tomorrow. Okay, fine then. So we'll stop it here today. In the next session, I'll talk about the further points. Tomorrow, we will not have any session. We'll take a break tomorrow. The next session, we will be connecting on Monday. Monday at the same time, 9 p.m. Indian time, we will connect for the further process, for the further point discussion. Okay, good night.